AI can also be viewed as a force multiplier. Um, but I think almost ironically, based on my experience, it becomes a force multiplier the more you actually already know. Meaning that, yes, anybody can go on 11 Labs website and type in a prompt and you'll get some kind of music back. But even at that level, I think that if you're a really seasoned composer or musician, what you can get out of it is actually quite a bit better, even with the limitation of that technology, right? So in a way, it seems like AI actually also enhances the abilities of experts a little bit more than it does the abilities of, complete newbies. It's in a more profound way, I would think.
I would say so. And on the creative side, I mean, we can talk about the workflow optimization. It's a little hard to argue there aren't some great efficiencies there and more time to spend on the creativity, which AI can hopefully help with if you choose, by the way. But if you're a seasoned musician, composer, producer, engineer, you're not necessarily going to abandon everything that you've done to date and let AI reinvent you. Whereas perhaps someone who's a bedroom producer or in the basement can really come out with anything new, highly aided by AI. And those are just two really different things.
They really are. I'm going to mention a conversation I had with a friend last week, and I'm not going to quote him directly because maybe he doesn't want to be quoted directly on that. But he's at the head of a large interactive studio in sound design. And, he made this interesting point to me, which was that the students you get out of, universities, colleges, whatever, that apply for a job with them as sound designers, he said that their level has gone down over the past few years in terms of how good a sound designer the average applicant is. What's gone up is their technical abilities. It's like they're better technically, but they're creatively overall a little less good than they used to be. And, I thought about it as an educator for a second, and it actually kind of made sense to me once he told this to me. And that's actually one of the areas where I think AI can really help. Now, earlier we started our conversation by saying what's the role of music tech, and the point was that everybody uses music tech, right? Even if you're like, in a bluegrass band, you're going to use some kind of music tech stuff. And that means that the level of technical knowledge that's required now is greater than it was 5-10 years ago. And that keeps increasing in a lot of areas, like there are, as a producer, you're dealing with newer plugins, cooler plugins, newer technology. As a sound designer, you're dealing with, game engines if you're doing game audio stuff. You're dealing with new sound effect libraries. So there is an increasing level of technical ability and know-how that's required. And in a way, in universities where you have a limited amount of time, that doesn't change with, the changes in technology. You're getting a 4-year degree. It's a 4-year degree. It's going to take 4 years, hopefully. The amount of stuff that needs to be taught on the technical side has become more intense over the past decade. And so I think a lot of programs have been focusing on the technical stuff because you kind of need it. As a result, the creative stuff has suffered. But we're actually now at a point where we could foreseeably start to think about offloading the technical stuff to an AI agent so that we can actually focus back on being creatives, being musician, composer, sound designer, etc., and focus on the creative side of things. So that actually, I think, is a really positive potential development of AI.
Being older, I remember going from, reading, writing music, playing, and then having to learn how to use a DAW. And if agents can help you, and we're already starting this, get past that learning curve, then we can just keep focusing on the creative side.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's not to say that we don't need the technical side. I think it just means that we need to approach it, I think, differently. And certainly as educators, but I'm not even talking for educators here. I think as users of AI, I think that, yes, you need to understand, say, in music production, you should know what a compressor does. And you should be able to articulate what you want it to do. So that takes some, your ears have to be developed. Your mind has to kind of wrap that concept in some way that makes sense to you. However, maybe you won't be adjusting, the attack and release time of your compressor as much as, an engineers would do in the 1970s or 80s. because, well, that can be offloaded. And, with the right model, they'll understand what you mean. So exactly, right? We keep adding new stuff, new layers, new technologies. I think that maybe AI can free us, ironically, of some of the technology stuff that maybe wasn't the most fun part anyway. That's one good thing about it, let's just say.